This is Nala. She's a British short-hair cat who is 47 days into her estrus cycle. There were several signs that led me to believe she is pregnant without having to go to the vet, and today I'm going to share with you all of the symptoms of cat pregnancy from my personal experience. It's important to note that the average length of pregnancy in cats is 65 days, but it can vary from 61 to as long as 72 days. If you know exactly when your cat was last in heat, stay tuned until the end of this video as I will share with you the app I use to track all of my cat's pregnancies. Hi, my name's Kayla. Welcome to Kitty Cat Soul Food, and in today's video I'm going to explain to you how to tell if your cat is pregnant without having to visit the vet. So let's get into the video. So the first way to distinguish whether or not your cat is pregnant is to actually determine whether or not your cat was in heat. Now, if you already know your cat was in heat, then the next 5 or 6 points in this video will be helpful to determine if she's actually pregnant. But if you have no idea if your cat was in heat, there are a few indicators you can use to help determine if maybe she was in heat. So the first indicator would be the time of the year. So if you're watching this and it's the springtime or the fall time, then most likely she has gone into heat. These are the prime months for cats to go into heat because of the rising temperatures. So there is a possibility that she could have gone into heat, but you just weren't around to witness it. And the second indicator would be how old she is. So if you have an adult cat, then most likely she's already gone into heat multiple times because she's already gone through puberty. But just keep in mind that cats, they only have to be 80% of their adult weight in order to be going into heat, into puberty. So they can be quite young still and still go into heat. So if you think your cat is pregnant and 50 or 60 days has passed and you notice she's gone into heat all of a sudden, then it's possible what you thought was a pregnancy was actually just a pseudo-pregnancy, which is like a false pregnancy. Now, the earliest and most reliable sign that your cat is pregnant is what's called the pinking up of the nipples. Now, this usually happens around 15 to 18 days after ovulation, so it is one of the earliest ways to detect pregnancy in cats. What I would say is if it's your cat's first time being pregnant, it's super easy to tell because prior to pregnancy, they usually have very flat white nipples, and you can see like a substantial difference. You can see that they're pink or almost like a red color. And if it's your cat's second or third time having babies, then it could be a little bit harder to tell because sometimes after their first or second pregnancy, the nipples, they stay enlarged and they don't always go back to the way they were before. So that's the only situation I would say it can be a little bit more difficult, but you can use a sum of different symptoms to try to determine if they're actually pregnant. Another thing I wanted to mention is that as the nipples begin to change, the hair will actually recede away from the nipples so that when the kittens are born, they can easily find the milk. So this could be another sign, like your cat could be laying down on their side and you just notice all of a sudden that their nipples are poking through their fur. For example, like in my cat Nala, you can see here that her nipples are clearly poking through. So it's pretty obvious that she's pregnant. Before this pregnancy, you couldn't even tell like where her nipples were on her body. So it was pretty obvious to me once I saw this. So another sign that your cat is pregnant is an increase in appetite and an increase in sleep. So from my personal experience, especially with Nala right now, she is eating like crazy. She's begging for food every single day, more than normal. So I would say like if you notice like any abnormalities, like the cat is coming to you more often for food and they just seem like they're crying and begging for food a lot, then they're probably pregnant. Also, they will sleep a lot more. You might find them in places that they typically wouldn't sleep in. Like with Nala, she now sleeps on the bed, or she'll go in my closet and sleep, and these are places that she would have never slept before her pregnancies. Lastly, some cats might experience morning sickness, much like humans when they're pregnant. Cats can also fall ill in the early stages of their pregnancy, even to the later stages. This usually happens because the abdomen enlarges and it puts a lot of pressure on their digestive tract, so it can cause them to puke and get a little bit nauseous. So again, with my experience with Nala, she was puking like a couple times a week, what looked like a white foam. So I asked my vet and they verified with me that this is just from her pregnancy and the expansion of her stomach. So this is also something to look out for. Which leads me into my next point, which is the bulging of the abdomen. So around 35 to 45 days, you're gonna notice that your cat's stomach is growing. The kittens are getting bigger, they're getting lots of nutrients, they're healthy, they're growing, And so you're gonna notice that sometimes when they're laying on their side, their stomach kind of like sticks out to the side. And so this is a sign that they're pregnant, but it's obviously not until later in their pregnancy that you can see this. So I usually use this as like a secondary sign after the nipples around 20 days. And then when it's like 45 days, I see the stomach bulging. It's like almost 100% sure that they're pregnant. Now, something to keep in mind is that around 50 days or like almost a week before they give birth, you will notice if they lay on their side some movement in the stomach. So that's a healthy sign, but it's also like a sign that they could be going into labor within the next few days. So I'm going to do a separate video on the signs your cat's going into labor. But if you see movement, I mean, it's pretty clear that your cat's probably pregnant. If you're skeptical of the bulginess and you think that it's possibly worms or like a parasite or something, I would advise you to at least go to the vet and get an x-ray. If the cat is over 40 days pregnant, they will be able to detect kittens in the x-ray by the amount of skulls that they see. So it's not always accurate. They can't always tell exactly how many kittens, but you'll at least be able to tell 100% for sure whether they're pregnant or not. Another sign that your cat is pregnant is a change in her behavior. So a cat that was once distant might become super affectionate and vice versa. So if you have noticed your cat acting super loving and purring all the time, coming to your chest and wanting attention, then that could be a sign that she's pregnant. But usually I don't notice this until later in the pregnancy. One sign that I might see a little bit earlier is a little bit of aggression. So if you have other cats in your household, I do notice that the pregnant cats tend to get a little bit more aggressive towards those cats. They kind of like claw at them a lot more. Those are just some behavioral changes that I've noticed from my experience, but something else to look out for. Lastly is nesting behavior. So towards the end of the pregnancy, you might notice that your cat is going in discreet places that they normally wouldn't have been in, such as a dark closet, a laundry basket, or even on top of the washer and dryer. Sometimes they'll claw at blankets or towels or try to find like a little place that they can call like their own for when they're ready to give birth to the kittens. So if you notice this, it's like a sure sign that the labor is soon to come. So that's like the last sign that you could possibly see that they are for sure pregnant. And that's it for this video. I hope you guys learned something new, and hopefully you too can now determine whether or not your cat is pregnant. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more weekly cat videos. Thank you so much for watching, and stay positive. Bye! Wait, before you leave, I'm gonna show you the app that I use to track all of my cat's pregnancies. So let me just open the app here on my phone. So I'm gonna go to the App Store, and the app is called Pet Pregnancy. So I'm just gonna type Pet Pregnancy. It's the first app that comes up. It's the only app available to actually use, so there's no other options. I'm just gonna open it. So the first thing you see is the calculator. So here you're gonna select what kind of pet. So most likely it's a cat if you're watching this video. I'm gonna put in the name. So for example, I'm gonna put in Nala, even though I already have her logged in here. And her mating date was on the 31st of November. So 2019. I'm gonna press submit. And it says now Nala will give birth on February 4th, 2020. And so do you want to save this pet to your pet list? I'm going to say yes. And then afterwards it's going to show you the delivery date, the minimum delivery date, and the max delivery date. So the delivery date is 65 days, exactly 65 days from the first day they were in heat. But cats can be in heat up to 1 week, so you don't know exactly which day they got pregnant, which is why they offer like a minimum date and a max date. So the minimum date is more like around 60 days into the pregnancy, and the max is around like 69, 70 days. So I can see here that Nala would be due on February 3rd, and her minimum due date would be the 30th of January, and her max would be the 8th of February. So if you want, download the app and you can keep track of your cat's pregnancies as well.
You're just so cute, you know that? Did you know that you're so cute? You're just so cute. And I just love you so much.
What? You want some chicken? You want some chicken? Hmm?